Last year, 40 million Americans received unemployment benefits, but now many of these people are getting a shock. They owe the IRS hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in taxes. President Biden and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen can change that with a stroke of a pen. But why is this happening? Because unemployment benefits are considered taxable income under our current tax code. This wasn't always the case. For over 40 years, unemployment benefits were viewed as they should be: emergency, often life-saving aid to workers who'd fallen on hard times. It was Uncle Sam throwing out a lifeboat to those in need. Fast forward to the Reagan era, when conservative economists argued that unemployment benefits were a so-called disincentive from working. The theory was that if unemployment aid, which on average covers less than half of a worker's previous wages, was overly generous, then unemployed workers just wouldn't look for work. Republicans' idea was to tax unemployment benefits to further disincentivize the jobless, and they managed to change the law and made unemployment taxable. Under today's law, unemployment recipients have the option to withhold these federal taxes from their weekly checks up front, much like what happens with a typical paycheck. But this is where things got tricky this year. For 50 consecutive weeks, state unemployment offices have been slammed with over 1 million new claims for unemployment benefits. Officials have had to stand up new programs, pay out benefits to new groups of workers, and work with antiquated tech systems that weren't adequate in normal times, let alone during a global economic crisis. As a result, many states didn't start withholding these taxes for months, or never offered tax withholding to begin with. What's more, millions of workers couldn't afford to take a 10 or 15% cut in the one check that was keeping them afloat. In fact, based on our analysis of government data, only 40% of unemployment benefits paid out during the pandemic had taxes withheld. So here we are. Tax season is in full swing. Workers across the country are beginning to file their returns only to realize that they owe the federal government money. These tax bills aren't small either. To protect our health and to save lives, much of our economy shut down in 2020. That was the right thing to do. But it also meant that millions of workers were forced to rely on unemployment to survive, since there were no jobs available. And those benefits quickly racked up, reaching into the thousands of dollars. One woman who lost her job described her situation like this to the Washington Post. "My savings are gone, most of my 401k is gone, I'm $6,000 in credit card debt and behind on my rent, and now I owe the government $1,500 in taxes on my unemployment." Workers today have no idea how they will cover this unexpected tax bill. Some will use their stimulus checks to pay the IRS. Many will likely skip meals or prescriptions. Homelessness will rise, poverty will deepen. And for what? Because workers who lost their jobs through no fault of their own and accepted government aid. Only this time, when Uncle Sam threw a lifeboat, it decided to charge them interest. This doesn't have to be the case. Secretary Yellen can fix it. Our tax code says that government payments in connection with a qualified disaster in order to promote the general welfare are excluded from income taxes. Last year, former President Trump declared COVID a national emergency. So the unemployment benefits authorized by COVID-19, check, they're in response to a natural disaster. In regards to promoting the general welfare, enhanced unemployment benefits were put in place to ensure jobless workers were supported and local economies were financially stable. It would be hard to find a compelling argument that that aid did not promote the general welfare, so check there too. Jobless workers, those who have been among the hardest hit by this pandemic, can't just write a $1,000 check to the IRS, and they shouldn't have to. Treasury Secretary Yellen, with the stroke of a pen, could direct the IRS to clarify that these benefits aren't taxable, and she should.